Feed them to the sharks right now. Get them hype right now. Yeah. You know the ground is up. Yeah. Everybody that trains, you know the game. Yeah. So let's get it. Slap it up, bump it, and roll. Hey. Yeah, that's the way that it goes. Ain't no better way to better yourself in this game. You're feeling the growth. That's real. It's time on the mat. We put in the work. Believe it ain't easy, I know. But we train for the love of the game, the love of the art. Now slap it up, bump it, let's roll. Let's roll. Let's roll. Let's roll. Let's roll. Let's roll. Let's roll.
Welcome to episode 37 of the BJJ Campaign podcast. My name is Jeff Boone. I'm an A3 blue belt, 2 stripes.
And this is Phil Coors, A2 blue belt, 1 stripe.
And I'm AJ Clingerman, W2 purple belt, 1 stripe.
And I'm Jen Edds, W3 white belt, 1 stripe.
Yes, 1 stripe and 1 competition under your belt now, I understand, Jen.
That's right. Yeah.
Excellent. We'll talk about that a little bit. But for the listeners out there, we're going to do a co-podcast with this episode. Very excited about it. So we had some, just as a little backdrop for the conversation, is that we had some of the newer and some of the other elder statesmen women in where we train at say, hey, Jeff, hey, Phil, when are you guys going to do an episode on training with women? And quite honestly, I don't really think about gender-based training. So I think about whenever I'm sparring or whenever I'm doing a fundamentals class with someone, I think about the appropriate level of resistance and strength that I should be using according to that person's weight, not according to their gender. And I think that's just maybe because I'm older. You know, I've trained in other things like wrestling with women, and it's really has never been a hang up for me. And I don't think so for Phil either. But so that's kind of where we were coming from with this podcast. And we thought, who better than to have the 2 hosts of Beauty and the Gi to come on the podcast and really kind of try to explore that with us. And maybe, actually, I know that we're going to learn a lot from this podcast today. So.
Yeah, I think it'll be good. And I think it's good for, our listeners too, to be able to kind of hear the male perspective of what it's like rolling with women sometimes. So, and I like hearing from you that you feel like you don't have any difference, about the role, not the person.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I specifically remember rolling with AJ at the Origin camp and getting beat up as everybody else.
So I was pretty hurt at Origin camp. So kind of my thing was like, I have to kind of dominate to protect myself. Otherwise, if I let myself get in bad positions, then I'm going to end up getting injured more. So it's kind of the mentality I had to take.
Not with Phil at the time. He was really not that good at jiu-jitsu at the time. He's gotten a lot better, by the way. A lot better.
I should hope so. I mean, it's been almost a year. You should hope that time.
All right, so we had a couple questions from people, but I guess before getting into the actual training stuff, maybe it would make sense kind of talking about how partnering up happens in a class. One partner that we have in particular has noticed if there's like 2 women or 4 women in the line before the class starts, that none of the guys seem to come up to approach her to train and just assume that they want to train with the other woman. Do you have a preference? Do most women seem to have a preference? And how do you kind of handle that situation?
Yeah. Jen, I'll let you go first.
Okay. I don't really have a preference, I don't think. I mean, if there are women there, like Valerie was there this morning, I was there, so we partnered up, but I don't think it was like you just grab somebody. At least that's kind of how I look at it, unless maybe it's closer into going into competition. And then I'll probably specifically pick to roll with the woman.
So for me, I have like my, main training partner. So she's always going to be the one I grab first because she's the one that, I do extra sessions with and everything, just the 2 of us. But overall, I don't think that it's necessarily that I definitely want to go with the female, but that I know who I'd want to work with. So, even just in drilling, I'll grab the brand new white belt female, but I probably won't grab the brand new white belt dude. Like,
Okay.
especially if they, are kind of bigger and stronger and like maybe have some ego and some things to prove. That's probably not the person I'm going to grab to drill with. So it's not necessarily, I mean, I guess it is a little bit gender based in that manner. Like if there's a female, she doesn't have a partner, I'm the first to grab her. But overall, it's more about like who I want to choose to drill with, not based on gender as much.
And Jen, just to follow up on that, you said you just grab anyone, right? And so I think that's one of the issues that they have, is that comfortability with just being able to grab anyone.
Mm-hmm.
How did you, I mean, you're one stripe white belt, you've not done this for all that long. How did that kind of come about? Or was it just, it never was a thought for you?
It really wasn't a thought. I mean, I haven't been around anybody that I've been in class with that I would feel like, oh, I don't want to roll with that person. I think everybody's got some pretty good manners.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been, and I'm so new at this point still that I'm going to go, drill and get my rolls in and just see what happens at this point.
I do think that it helps a little bit that Jen attends morning classes primarily. So the group knows each other a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And, there isn't always another female on the mat. So, she never really had that barrier to begin with.
Right.
So I think that's been helpful, where if you come into a class with 30 or 40 people, there may be a little more intimidation there where you're like, okay, I actually know this one female. I'm definitely grabbing her.
Right. Yeah.
Got it.
And if you get into like rolling sparring situations, do you have a preference, male or female, or does it kind of go back to the same competition situation?
For me, it kind of just goes back to that.
For me, normal rolling doesn't really matter. Competition time, I mean, I'll train with all the females, but I'm actually more apt to go for all the brown and black belt dudes. Just, like I know they're less likely to injure me, but I know I can go as hard as I want and try everything I can, and they're going to push me. And so from a competition standpoint, I'm probably stepping up to those guys first.
Interesting.
Cool. Yeah, that makes sense. That's like, I'll grab him and I can go 100% and it doesn't matter and he doesn't care.
Yeah.
So, as far as training, how could guys, I think about this a lot with no matter who my training partner is, how to be a better training partner, because nobody wants to be the person nobody wants to train with. But specifically with training with women, as far as things like appropriate feedback levels and realistic attacks and everything, how can guys be the best training partner possible when working with women?
Okay, so this won't be a popular answer. I think to an extent, sometimes we want it both ways as females.
I think that's fair.
Yeah,
yeah. I think you're right.
There's a story of James going with a female and her kind of yelling at him to like go harder, like stop going so light on her. And so he just picked it up a little bit, and then she was basically like, if you don't stop being so rough on me, like I'm gonna kick you, like, yeah. So I hate to say it, but there is a little bit of like, we want it both ways. We do want you to go hard with us. It's not necessarily that we never want you to muscle us or anything like that. I mean, I prefer for you to use technique, but you have muscles, it's gonna happen, but basically just, I don't know, just respect us and train with us. I think that's the biggest thing. Like it's kind of a tough answer. So.
And, when Phil was going with you at Origin Camp, he kind of turned it down a little bit and just decided to get loop choked like 15 times. So
thanks, Phil. You're a good son.
That's good. Is there anything that guys might be unaware of while training with women that maybe hasn't I heard you say in one of your episodes, like you like the women's classes because you could say something like right across like the bra strap or something.
Right. Yeah. And
So I
that's
don't
just,
know.
yeah, that, I mean, those are just like kind of silly things. Like I enjoy teaching the women's class and training in women's classes because it is a little bit different just in the way we move. And like one thing we were joking, half guard. So from a guy's half guard, you have to pass it. From a woman's half guard, you have to escape it because women just like lock you down in their thighs and like live there for the rest of their life. So you like it, just those little funny things that are kind of different. But no, I don't think there's necessarily anything that like I can think of that a guy needs to be aware of. We're, you know, yeah, and not really. The things that you think we notice, we don't would be one thing. Like, like a guy will apologize for something. I'm like, what? He's like, oh, I accidentally, brushed your boob. It's fine. I didn't notice. Just keep rolling. Like, just go.
I think it's just general awareness and, common courtesy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, and again, why I don't think about it that much is that when we're training partners, and
Right.
I'm going to do everything that I can first to keep myself safe, right? I mean, that's the number one thing. Keep yourself safe. Second, to keep your partner safe, and third is try to make the experience that you have with your partner in that whatever session it is be 50% about you and 50% about them. In other words, so that you both are getting something and getting better whenever you're training jiu-jitsu. So I think that answer makes a lot of sense. And maybe if people thought less about it, it might make more sense as well.
Yeah. One thing I will say is I'm a female. I'm emotional. Sometimes I'll cry. Like, and unless I ask you to stop, don't stop. Like, keep rolling. I got Shark Tanked for 20 minutes leading up to a tournament one time, and I literally cried for 19 minutes of it. And I just was like, everybody that came up to me was like, "You okay?" "Yeah, just go. I'm going to keep crying. Just keep going." So
First of all, that's my kryptonite, AJ. If a woman would cry whenever I was sparring with her, I'd be like, okay, I'm out. I'm not. This is not how it's going to go.
But I mean, if like for me, I was like, I'm fine. Just keep going. I can't control right now my emotions, but I've got to be able to do my jujitsu through any emotion. So,
oh wow,
got to keep going.
I've never had that.
It was embarrassing. Like I was definitely embarrassed, but also proud of myself that I didn't quit, and very thankful for my team for not stopping, like for continuing to push me.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think, and thank you for, kind of sharing so freely with us about that, because that can be embarrassing, right? I mean, and if anything, that's what Phil and I've done with this entire podcast is that listen, we do stupid stuff all of the time, and guess what? We want to share it with everyone, because if someone's out there thinking, well, oh gosh, I did this, and I don't know if anyone's ever, they have. It's not new. Someone's done it before. It's
someone else watched YouTube to tie their belt in their car. I mean,
right. You're right.
Advice on how. All right. So I guess I don't know. It's going to come up if somebody's kind of a jerk, I guess. But if it seems like certain guys don't want to roll or train with women, how do you handle that?
Okay, I'll go. So, let's start from the other side. When I have a female come in for the first time, I explain to her that it is her journey, right? She's always able to say no to a roll. I encourage her to roll with every female, and typically guys with color on their belt, until they know a white belt guy. Like once they know him and they know that he's safe, or they get the nod from me, like, yeah, he's safe, he's good. But at any point in time, if they don't feel comfortable rolling, they can say no. And I give them various ways to say no, because unfortunately, as females, we're not always good at saying no. So I give them tips on how to say no, like having another partner set up already, just saying you have to go to the bathroom or you need to round out or whatever. But I think it would be very hypocritical of me to not give guys that same explanation. It is your guys' journey. If you don't feel comfortable rolling with me, that's your choice. Now I can't say that on occasion I haven't been butthurt about it. Like ask a guy to roll and he's just like, nope. Like sometimes I'm like, well, that's kind of rude, but I don't know his reasoning and it's his journey. Like whether it's for religious reasons or, his wife or girlfriend doesn't want him rolling with females, or maybe he knows himself and he knows he tends to injure girls or whatever it is. I don't care. It's your choice as much as it is my choice of who I want to roll with.
Yeah. And you bring up a good point. It is, no matter who it is, no matter who you are, it is your choice and it is your campaign to go through. And you have to weigh the risk versus benefit in both situations. And I will also say, from a man's perspective, for some men, that ego of a woman being better than them at something is something that's insurmountable for them, and they can't take that, so therefore they don't roll. Right. It's just, I find it hard to believe in this day and age that is the case, but it is the case. You see it on forums all the time. You see it on various internet forums that I'm on, because I'm on every jiu-jitsu forum that there is. And you see this come up all the time. And again, it's something that I haven't given 10 seconds of thought to, other than that time of spending reading that thread.
Right. And, I'll ask everyone to roll. I just in Vegas last weekend. And there was a guy that straight up said no to me. Like, and I was just like, okay. And, so now I try and find somebody else to roll with quickly, cause the time's running up. But if somebody says no, I just have to respect that. No matter what his reasoning was. He may have watched me roll somebody else and been like, she's murdering him. Maybe I don't want to go with him. Or go with her.
No, thank you.
Yeah, that's great. That's also, again, something I hadn't even, it's never crossed my mind. And when I hear people or read people talk about it or hear the questions asked, I'm just kind of surprised that it's a thing. Yeah.
And to be fair too, some religions don't allow that.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yep. That was the very first time a guy told me no. I was so offended. Like, how dare he not roll with me? Like I just really thought that he was, like must be his ego. Not that I could beat him, because he was definitely better than me. But like my thought process was like, oh, because I'm a girl, you don't want to train with me. And then later somebody is like, oh, his religion doesn't allow for that. And I was like, I'm such a jerk. And so it really opened up my mind. I mean, really, like it, and I didn't react to him at all. Of that stuff was in my head, but still, like, I felt like a jerk for it. And so it really opened my mind to it. It gets to be your choice as much as it gets to be mine.
Yeah. And I think that we all have to take a step back, especially, I don't think I've ever had anyone refuse a roll with me. But I think that I would have to take a step back and say, what's going on with that person? Because I don't think it would be a me problem, because I know I'm a good training partner. I mean, I actively try to seek how to be better at doing that. And so you have to kind of everyone has to kind of take a step back and say, okay, there's a reason for this. But sometimes it's still, I think it still would get in your head on that. So
yeah. I would like to go back to you being a good training partner, because listening to your podcast, like I really aspire to be as good at like welcoming new people as you are. Like I try to be, but like when you guys were talking about you getting their phone number, and if they're, like have been out or something, like, hey, you coming to class? Like, where you been? Taking them to dinner, whatever Phil was saying.
No lies, like on Facebook stuff. It's terrible. I mean,
I love it. I think that's amazing. And I think everyone should aspire to be more like that. Like we all need that person on the mat for sure.
He'll see somebody that hasn't been there in 6 months post like a fishing trip picture and be like, we miss you at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I feel like I try to do that a lot, but I aspire to do more of that.
And so I'm gonna harken back to whenever I was 3 years old. Okay. And this is a story my mother told one of my coworkers. And she said, the coworker said, has Jeff always been like this? He'll talk to anybody. He doesn't care who it is. And she goes, well, I'll tell you, when he was 3 years old at the baseball field, he would just go up to strangers and go, hey, my name's Jeff Boone. How are you? And so I would just introduce myself and just start talking to random strangers, at a very young age. So I don't really know any differently.
I like that.
It's so weird.
Phil is the absolute
I
opposite.
have no idea how he does it.
Me at 3, I would walk up and go, do you want to see my dance? And then perform my whole dance in front of them all the time.
That's
I think I would
great.
have been hiding under the bleachers, not talking to anyone.
You and Phil both hiding
Right.
under the bleachers.
Yeah, no doubt. You'd be like, get out of here, Phil.
So you're in my space.
We would just sit there, not talking.
Yeah.
So Jen, I know you kind of recapped your tournament experience on Beauty and the Gi, but I'd like to go back to that because I think it's really interesting. I think that you have an interesting perspective on it, and also trying to delve into the questions and try to see the similarities and the differences in what someone, from my perspective, whenever I did my first tournament, to a female perspective on when they did their first tournament, whether it's more similar than dissimilar or not. So kind of take us through that for, your preparation and whenever you got there and sort of the emotion that you were going through in that process.
Well, the big goal for me was to just not cry.
Good goal.
Well, I mean, just I wanted to at least look like I somewhat knew what I was doing and just not go out there and embarrass myself was the big thing. Training going into it, we worked a lot. AJ helped me a lot with what is my game plan? What can I do? What at this point, having, trained for about 6 months roughly, what could I actually go there and maybe execute? So that was a lot of it. And then just really drilling it at every class. So that was probably the biggest preparation. Yeah.
You hear that, Phil? What is your game plan? That was an important part.
Thank you. Thank you, for God's sakes.
I'm not
Your mother says you need a game plan.
Listen to your mother, Phil.
But that really helped me too, because then at least when I hit the mat, and we kind of one day, like AJ walked us through, this is what it's like. This is, when you go on the mat, this is exactly what's going to happen. And just having that, I felt like I just at least felt prepared. Like, okay, I've been here before. So this isn't going to be anything new. There's not going to be any surprises. I know what to expect when I walk out there.
So you knew to expect the butterflies, the extreme anxiety before, and then whenever you slapped and bumped and started, did all that go away?
No, it amped up. Big
Okay.
time. It definitely it amped up, and I don't feel like I ever really got settled into it. And then I was down. I was just trying to stay alive.
That's the first tournament jitters. Phil
Mine was
couldn't.
terrible.
Phil couldn't feel his hands after like the first 30 seconds of his first tournament.
No, everything broke. My brain, brain down broke.
And so I want to come back and like have a follow-up comment to, I didn't want to embarrass myself and I'm going to go back to Phil's, was it the last tournament or the tournament before last where you got submitted in?
I think it was the tournament before last. Yeah.
So Phil's biggest concern for embarrassment was that he was going to go out and get submitted immediately.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened?
I did that. I accomplished my goal.
You put it out there in the world.
Oh, no.
He went out and got straight ankle locked right off the gate. He had a horrible guard pull.
Worst.
It's terrible.
Oh,
terrible.
no.
I've never seen a guard pull that was worse.
It's intense.
Straight
Wow.
ankle lock. Yeah. And then as a follow-up to that, it was a round robin style tournament. So he had to go with that person again and then submitted them within 1 minute of each of the 2 additional matches that he had with them. And the point of the story is, it's only embarrassing for you. It's not
Right.
It's not embarrassing for me. Like, I didn't care that Phil got submitted in 30 seconds, and I don't care what place I get in the tournament necessarily. You know, I'm going to try my best and do that, but I know that others don't either. You know, because the conversation, and I've said it before, it goes like this: "Hey Phil, how did the tournament go?"
I lost.
"Oh, cool. Well, you tried." That's it. That's the conversation.
Yeah.
Right? You know, and nobody ever gives it really a second thought after that, other than you,
Right.
which gave me an interesting perspective. And one of the reasons that I sought that deep meditation, I don't know if you guys heard that one, but I went to get hypnotized. It's really just meditation. And it literally not only helped me in the tournament I went to, but it also helped me in life in general. You know, explaining that you have control over the level of emotion or the level of intensity that you bring to whatever conversation or situation that you're in. So yeah, don't ever be embarrassed by getting submitted in 30 seconds or anything. It happens to everybody. So
And right after that match, John, our coach instructor, he did tell me, watch out for the straight ankle lock. So
Hindsight.
The next match.
yeah, because the next one was like 30 seconds after
Yeah.
that. So.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Well, what was helpful for me too is that the matches were videotaped, and not video. I just showed my
Not
age,
taped.
didn't I?
They're
Not taped.
Videoed, but not taped. I don't
Yeah,
know. Recorded. Whatever.
Recorded. Thank
You got a
you.
recording?
It's fine. We're old.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't listen, Phil.
I had a camcorder there. But we it was nice to be able to go through that with AJ after the tournament and look at, you know, what I could have done better, maybe what I did right. So that was definitely the biggest benefit for me of actually competing.
Did you, because this has happened before to me, to Phil, but when you watch the videotape, you're like, I don't recall any of that sequence. I mean, it's happened to me. I was like, I had no idea what I was doing there.
There
Did
were some
you-
things that I remembered, and then some things that were, you know, a big surprise when I watched it back for the first time.
I definitely have a hard time remembering like my matches in the middle. Although James is the exact opposite, and he can tell you every second of the match with a play-by-play of his own, of someone else's, doesn't matter. He like remembers it every second.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that.
Crazy.
I noticed that when he was going over, I think the takedown, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was
Yeah.
like talking about how he got into a takedown, and it was so detailed that it was almost like instructional level detail of like what everybody's doing, but it was like a real time black belt match. And it's just funny that he has that like memory of each
crazy.
like, small grip.
Yeah, it's
That's
crazy.
because he's much better at jiu-jitsu than all of us.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I'm going to go with. Maybe when we're much better at jiu-jitsu that we'll have that same recall, but not right now.
Probably not. I'll be so old by then. I don't have any memory. Who are you?
What did you say, Phil, about my jiu-jitsu whenever?
Oh, he's good. He did it at a good time because now he's like pretty big and strong. And by the time he's old and frail, he'll be good at jiu-jitsu.
Perfect.
Top of line on his strength.
That's my goal.
So
That's my goal, to be old, frail, and good at jiu-jitsu.
that's it.
Aleo style. James's professor, Anibal Braga, he's about 60, I think. He's an 8th degree coral belt. And I mean, like, he kind of looks frail, but still just murders people. So it's really cool to watch him.
That's crazy. So Jen, AJ, is there anything else, like we want to educate, the consumers of the podcast in that? Is there anything that we didn't kind of ask about that you think, hey, here, this is how someone can be a training partner, girl or a guy, specifically if it's a guy with a woman? Is there anything that you can think of that really would be a top tip that would really help someone that was struggling with this?
I'm going to make the tip still kind of in a co-ed manner. If you're higher rank, bigger, stronger, all of the things, don't start on top. Like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe it with a brand new person, start with them in your guard, let them work on passing. And whenever I start with a new person, I'm always like, okay, you're going to start in my guard. Your job is to pass. My job is to knock you over. Basically, I'm just going to knock you over. You're going to get your base back, get back up. And so for 5 minutes, that's always their first roll with me, is just me taking their base out from underneath them, letting them get back in guard, taking it out from underneath them, letting them get back. But if you're bigger, stronger, higher rank, just starting, or, and somebody's just starting, you don't have to smash them. Just let them work a little bit.
No,
now,
I think
protect yourself. Protect yourself for sure. But, let them work the move.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic advice. And that's actually some advice. I can't remember where I got it, but at around 4 or 5 months into jiu-jitsu, I just, and I'm a bigger guy and was a wrestler. And so my top game getting up was I had a pressure top game from the very beginning. Not that I was any good at it, but then I heard that advice at one point in time, and I completely switched. And now I'm a guard player. I love it. I love playing guard now, which I couldn't imagine whenever I started with jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Jen, anything from your perspective?
Not really. I think you pretty much covered that. So, yeah.
So when we talk about the benefits all the time that we get out of jiu-jitsu, I'm pretty sure they're probably all the same, but what would you tell females thinking about starting, whether it's for self-defense or exercise or anything?
I would say I just feel better in general and more confident in myself since I started.
And I hear you give better hugs.
Oh yeah, I've been told I give better hugs now too. Yeah, there's that.
That's good. And so, going with the beauty and the gi on the mat, off the mat, or on the mat lesson.
We would like your recommendations. We always do like what to try on the mat and what to try off the mat. So if you want to give us your what to try on the mat this week.
I'm going to go back to what you just said earlier, AJ, and it goes along with this, and that's on the mat, respecting your training partners. And if you're that bigger, stronger, more advanced person, to start I'm going to take it a step further, not even start with them in your guard, start with them in a dominant position, let them get mount, let them get side mount, let them get half guard, whatever you're working on. So on the mat, that's what I'm suggesting.
Good. What about off the mat? Do you have a suggestion for what to try off the mat?
100%. This is something that I implemented very early on because I was very sore from doing jiu-jitsu, because I was overweight and I was really going at it hard. Off the mat, take anti-inflammatories, not NSAIDs. I'm talking about natural anti-inflammatories, and that's things like ginger, turmeric. So use your supplements out there to help you recover and help you to stay on the mat and do the mat. A lot of people ask, Jeff, Phil, how do you guys train 5 or 6 days a week? It wouldn't be possible without that turmeric, that ginger. I'd take a plethora of other things like krill oil, BPC, a lot of different stuff. But that's my off the mat suggestion, is just supplement so that you can do it and do it naturally. so that you can really stay good to be on and off the mat or off the mat. Well,
Good.
oh, good.
Anything you want to talk about? Because I was trying to, I shared it on our Facebook page, but you did the Role Models Women Camp last year.
Yeah.
And if you're obviously going to do another one, any news information you can give people about that?
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Okay, so I'm a crazy person. And before camp was even over, I was planning next year's camp. So next year's Role Model Women's Only Camp in Indianapolis will be May 1st through the 3rd. I really expect to hit at least 200 women there. And we've got some pretty impressive things planned, and we already have all of the instructors lined up and everything, but I'm not going to announce them yet. But we have a planning committee put together. We are going to do some next gen stuff, which I'm real excited about. Basically, we're going to welcome in some younger girls. I think we'll probably start them at like 8 years old and do like an 8 to 14 section, so they'll have their own stuff, and we haven't talked about that yet to the public, so that's exclusive here for you guys. But that way, not only can moms bring their daughters, but also just girls that do jiu-jitsu can come in and join in the Role Model Camp. So
Nice.
Super excited.
No, that's awesome. We can't wait for that. And tell the audience how they can find you.
Yep. So for me personally, AJ Clingerman on everything, Facebook, Instagram. I have a Twitter, haven't opened it in a million years, but we do have Twitter for Beauty and the Gi.
We
right?
do, yes.
Okay. And we have Instagram as well. And that's Beauty and the Gi podcast. AJ Clingerman on YouTube as well. So I'm pretty much me everywhere you go.
And I'm on Instagram at Brassy Broad Jen.
Brassy Broad Jen.
Yep.
And Phil, tell the folks how they can support us.
BJJ Campaign Podcast.com, Facebook.com/BJJ Campaign Podcast, Instagram, YouTube, all the good stuff. And shirts and patches are still for sale.
Big time special on shirts and patches, right? Combo pack, $35.
That's it.
Shipping included.
Nice.
Also, we have our premier sponsor, which is My BJJ Notes. They are a really great resource, one of the best tools for learning, retaining, and developing, and kind of actually just for comic relief whenever you read what you put in notes, a year ago. It's kind of funny. So, a great way to document that. There's parts of it that you can, say when you got stripes or what tournaments you did, your roles, that sort of thing. So great podcast. Also, Green Compass CBD, all North Carolina based, all third party tested. We appreciate their support, and you can find those on our website. And with that, thank you guys so much for being here. I hope both of our audiences really like this, because I really enjoyed this podcast. And
thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, my pleasure. And if you're not out there doing something better each and every day, get out there and do it. Me, AJ, Jen, Phil, we choose Jiu-Jitsu. We hope you do too.
I'm about to feed him to the sharks right now. Get him hype right now. Yeah. You know the ground is up. Yeah. Everybody that trains, you know the game. Yeah. So let's get it. Slap it up, bump it, and roll. Yeah, that's the way that it goes. Ain't no better way to better yourself in this game. You're feeling the growth. It's time on the mat. We put in the work. Believe it ain't easy, I know. But we train for the love of the game, the love of the art. Now slap it up, bump it, let's roll. Let's roll. Let's roll. Let's roll.